Trojans go. LBC pouring Cardinal and gold. The next man up is the next Heisman. Only bleed USC, yes, we've been built to win. Catch roses while we ball all across the map. Too strong, fight on us, Trojan talk on tap.
How we doing, Trojans? Good to see everybody. Welcome to another edition of Trojans Talk on Tap. Very happy and pleased to be joined with me with Tony Altimore. Tony Altimore is going to stop on by. We are going to pick some bowl games, some college football playoff games. As you know, the college football bowl season starts tomorrow. With a few games, I think 6 games. We're not going to pick them all. We're going to spare you. But we're just going to give you our takes, and also pleased to announce some great, exciting news. But first off, Tony, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Good to be here.
Great to have you here. Sorry, breaking up a little bit there. Hopefully, we can hear you. What's been going on, Tony? What have you been working on?
All kinds of stuff. Big news today in the Pac-12 with the Washington State Court deciding not to continue the stay and handing keys over to Wazoo and the Beavs. So we'll see what happens.
That saga keeps on continuing. It's never ending. I think those two schools just recently announced their football schedules for 2024, and it looks like they're going to have a number of games against the Mountain West. But I believe both schools, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, are continuing their rivalry games. Washington with Washington State and Oregon with Oregon State. Is that correct?
Yes, they're both continuing the rivalry games.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I want to announce some quick news. We have 2 new sponsors to the channel. I want to thank everybody out there, to the channel. Enjoy talking USC football, college football. I want to go ahead and thank earlier this week, we had our first original sponsor, Matter of Craft, Bottle Shop, Tap Room, and Scratch Kitchen out of Huntington Beach, California. Thank you very much. Check out Jim over there and his staff. They will help you. They got like 8 or 10 coolers of craft beer in addition to a restaurant, a full bar, and tap room, 20 beers on tap. Thank you very much, Matter of Craft. And then I just got signed up today with Bradley's Fine Wine and Spirits. And they're out of Tustin, California. Alex, if you during this holiday season, if you're out there to buy some craft beer or some fine wine and spirits for a friend, a family member, check out Bradley's. Check out Matter of Craft. Alex is our friend over at Bradley's. And I'm so pleased to announce that part of our college football bowl pick'em series, the LBC College Football Bowl Pick'em, the second prize winner will get a mixed 12-pack of beer, 16-ounce beers, including Pliny the Elder. You've seen me drink and sample these on some previous episodes. Now you have a chance of winning some of this great beer. And later in the broadcast, I'll tell you how you can enter into the Pick'em Bowl Series. But we're going to go ahead and get into these games. Tony, I know you're super excited. Let's start off with some games that are going to be hitting tomorrow. Saturday, the 16th. So why don't you start us off, Tony? We are going to start with the Gronk LA Bowl. It used to be the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, featuring UCLA favored by 4 against Boise State. Saturday tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Tony?
This one, UCLA has the talent to win this game, but they have been plundered of their coaches. They've lost their quarterbacks. And Boise State is a tough team. Boise State's especially a tough team in bowl games. I'm going with Boise.
Going with Boise. Yeah, UCLA, the last that we saw, the Bruins, their quarterback Garbers was hurt. He got knocked out of the Cal game, which was their last game of the season. Dante Moore, their 5-star freshman quarterback, is in the transfer portal. They lost their defensive coordinator. So this game kind of encapsulates an example of a lot of these bowl games. There's so much uncertainty. But I would think the motivation is more for Boise State to make a statement. They haven't had the best year comparing to Boise State standards. So I think they have the motivation. Again, we're picking against the spread here. I do see Boise State beating UCLA and beating them by a touchdown. So I'm going to go Boise State. And I'm going to give UCLA those 4 points. Let's
Yeah,
move on.
it's good. It's gonna be
Go
interesting
ahead.
to see.
What's that?
It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And again, there's a lot of uncertainty. So there's going to be 6 games tomorrow. We're not going to go over all 6. We're going to go over some of the selected games. We're going to give you a lot of the Pac-12 matchups and then some key bowl games later in the 2023 bowl season lineup. So another game that's going to be played tomorrow is the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana. The Cal Golden Bears, their last Pac-12 game before they move to the ACC, versus Texas Tech out of the Big 12. Texas Tech is favored by 3 points. It's a 6:15 game, the last game of tomorrow. I'll start us off on this one, Tony. Cal has gone through some challenges as well. They've lost their offensive coordinator, Spivital. I believe he is going back to Baylor. He's going to Baylor to be their offensive coordinator, helping out Dave Aranda. You have their quarterback is Fernando Mendoza, who had some good games this year, and they've got some talent on the offensive side of the ball. They're pretty solid defensively. They haven't been as good as they have in the past. Texas Tech, they did lose their quarterback. I think his last name is pronounced Show, to the transfer portal as well. This is an interesting game. Again, Cal's got to go across the country. And I think Texas Tech is going to have a little bit too much for Cal. They're going to be motivated. They lost to Oregon earlier in the year. And I have Texas Tech giving the 3 points. I have them winning this game. Tony?
Yeah. I mean, Spivital's a great coach. But he's not there. Mendoza's a wonderful story. I don't know that he's as good a quarterback as what Texas Tech has. And we've seen Texas Tech be really inconsistent, right? Like, we watched them lose in Laramie and we watched them take Oregon down to the wire. So if it's the team that lost in Laramie, Cal can win this game. If it's the team that took Oregon to the wire, they'll run Cal off the field. Just, in general, thinking about Texas Tech, though, and look at what Texas Tech did the bowl games last year, thinking about Joey McGuire. Sorry, Bears. I got to say, wreck 'em Tech.
Yeah, you got 2 6-6 teams. And you know what? The reason they're 6-6, they've been consistently inconsistent. But I do see Texas Tech, agree with you, Tony, on this one, that they're going to have they're going to win this game. Let's move on. Let's go to the Las Vegas Bowl the following Saturday. This is going to be played in Vegas, obviously, on Saturday, December 23rd at 4:30 p.m. Pacific at Allegiant Stadium. And you've got the Utah Utes out of the Pac-12 versus Northwestern. Utah favored by 6.5 points. Tony, what's your take on the Las Vegas Bowl?
Northwestern is a wonderful story, but Utah's a better team. I'm taking the Utes.
Yeah, this year has been crazy, right? Who would have guessed that Pat Fitzgerald would not be the coach? I don't even really know who the coach of Northwestern is, because I thought that team would be pretty much done for the year. But credit Northwestern and credit the very soft Big Ten West. I think they've been soft for about a decade. That whole division is like a 6-6 or 5-7 division. And, poor Iowa got served up to the Wolves against Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. Did they even score a point? I forget, Tony. I think it was a shutout, wasn't it?
I think so.
That Big Ten Big Ten championship game. So Northwestern coming out to Vegas. Obviously, they have the motivation because nobody believes in them. But Utah's had some changes as well, because they've had two of their quarterbacks jump into the portal. That was Bryson Barnes and then Thompson. I believe it's Nate Thompson, because the news earlier broke that that God, Cam Rising is going to be coming back for another year. I don't know how many lives Cam Rising has, but he's coming back next year. So obviously, their quarterbacks jumped in the portal because they knew Rising is going to be the guy. So we'll have to see who plays quarterback for Utah, but still, it's a solid team. You've got Whittingham and Scally. They're going to be able to bottle up Northwestern. Utah's solid also on special teams. And their defense is going to cause turnovers and give their offense short field. So I see Utah win this game by 10 points. Moving on. Duke's Mayo Bowl. North Carolina versus West Virginia. West Virginia favored by 6.5 points. This game is going to be played Wednesday, December 27th at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. And I'll start us off on this one, Tony. Again, it's like, okay, who's going to be motivated? And one of the key things too, Tony, is that I want to get your take on this with bowl season. A lot of things are different now with the transfer portal. NIL is in its, I believe, going into its third year. And so now you're seeing a lot of these quarterbacks jumping into the transfer portal. I think Malik Murphy was the latest one from Texas. And we just saw how important a quarterback is, not only obvious to a team in its performance on the field, but obviously to the College Football Playoff Committee because of the injury to Florida State's quarterback, which kept them out of the College Football Playoff. So all of these teams are going to be constituted differently and have different motivations. And these bowl games now can be a showcase for a possible player to jump into the portal or be influenced by some outside source, be it an agent, a coach, a player, a relative, to jump into the portal if they have a good game. What are your thoughts on that, Tony? Moving into this bowl season
for West Virginia.
No,
sorry,
just
cutting out for just a sec.
I'm sorry, just for college football in general, where the bowls are different now because you have players opting out. You have a lot of players that we haven't heard about. Like, for instance, with USC, there's going to be a lot of freshmen playing in this game. So,
yeah, I mean, I can. So I think we're moving to a situation where it's maybe more of a old style. The old style when the bowls were more of like an addition, an accent, like a reward for the season, and not as related to the season. At the same time, I believe that what happens on the field happens on the field. I'm sick of hearing people say that, oh, well, that game doesn't count because blah blah. You know what? If you're playing the game, you're playing the game. If you're having trouble fielding a team, you're having trouble fielding a team. So,
yeah,
I mean, not fielding a team like putting bodies on the field, but I am getting a little sick of people's excuses.
So it is going to be a little bit different. I agree with you. It's moving more towards possibly the old style where it's an exhibition because you have so many players that are going to be opting out for various reasons, going in the transfer portal. And still have time to jump into the transfer portal through the first part of January. So this game here, Tony, I'll let you start off. What are your thoughts? North Carolina against West Virginia. West Virginia favored by 6.5.
So I, since the summer, have said that I thought North Carolina was not nearly as good as everyone else thought. And I thought that West Virginia was a lot better than people thought. So I'm Mountaineers all the way on this one.
Yeah, and I think it should be noted. Here's a good example. May, North Carolina's quarterback, I think it's Drake May, just announced that he was going to, I think, declare for the NFL draft, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's not going to be playing in this game. And North Carolina has been a disappointment under Mac Brown. And I don't think May had as good of a year as people anticipated him to have. And I think West Virginia, as you pointed out, Tony, I think they were expected to win 3 or 4 games. So they have totally overachieved this year. And I think there's a lot more motivation for West Virginia to win this game. Will they win it by 6.5 points? I don't know. And I think it's going to be closer than that. I think this is going to be a field goal game, a 3 or 4 point game. And I just think North Carolina has more talent on that squad. So I'm going to take the Tar Heels and the 6.5 points. Not necessarily they're going to win, but I'm going to take the 6.5 points in North Carolina in this one. And
All right, interesting.
I want to get to a question here.
Okay,
we got a question from
we got a question.
From a viewer. So let me pop that up real quick. And before I do that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's because of you that we've had success and that we have a couple sponsors in Matter of Craft and Bradley's that have helped us put together the LBC College Football Playoff Pick'ems, and you can join that. We'll give you information. There's a link in the video description to join the pool, and I'll go over the prizes here in a little bit, but lots of fun during this college football bowl season. But let's get to that question, and thank you, Robert, for joining us. Robert asks, what's the future of bowl games with transfer portal opening up so early and guys sitting out? Is this the last of the bowl season as we know it? I mean, without a playoff bowl system, they are dead. That's a great question, Robert, and we're soon going to find out because college football is evolving and changing, as you mentioned, with NIL and the transfer portal. Next year is the first year of the 12-team playoff. I think, and then also you have to take a look at, there's too many bowls to begin with. I believe there's 41 this year. And you also have the dissolution of the Pac-12. So what's going to happen with those bowl tie-ins, because they're tied into the Vegas Bowl, the Sun Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. But those teams are going away. So it's going to be changing. And I think we're going to see fewer bowl games, which is fine because we don't need that many. You know, Tony, what are your thoughts?
You know, here I'm going to sound like a really stupid like NBA here, but like, listen, these are TV products that are created because people watch them on TV. We say there's too many bowls, then don't watch them on TV. If you don't watch them on TV, they won't have them on TV, and there won't be that many bowls. So as long as people are watching them on TV, they're going to play them.
That's true. And 66 Lucky Dude, thanks for your question. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, I don't mean to sound like a free market, theoretical person in that, but like it really is the issue of when people say, "Oh, I wish there were less." Well, then don't watch them because millions of people are watching them, and that's why we get the Bahamas Bowl.
Well, the reason too, it's a made-for-TV product. People are typically taking off a week here, a week there, before, after Christmas, a couple weeks, and it's kind of like tradition. You've got the bowl game on. It's white noise. You might not be watching it. You're going to tune into some, but it's there. If you're a college football junkie, you know the season is coming towards an end. You've got holiday parties you're going to. You're going to have people over, family and friends. It's part of waking up on Christmas and opening gifts. It's towards the mid to the end of December. It's college football bowl season. This is a great question here. How do odds makers come up with these odds, not knowing who's going to play? Great question. But Vegas knows what they're doing. And they just have to kind of change too to take into account NIL, the transfer portal, and players opting out. So thank you, Samoan Strong, LBC. What's up, fam? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Tony, let's keep on rocking and rolling, man. Let's jump down to, we covered the Duke's Mayo Bowl. God, you know what? That's got to be the greatest name of a bowl. I want to see Mac Brown get covered in mayo. He deserves it. Let's go on. Oh my God!
I don't know. I got West. I think West Virginia pulls this one off.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Who's their coach again? Is it Brown? Neil Brown. I think, there's a few West Virginia fans that wanted him fired this year. I don't know how they feel about him now that he's going to be sticking around. But moving on to the Holiday Bowl, USC versus Louisville. This is Wednesday, the 27th, 5 p.m. down in San Diego. Louisville is favored by 7.5. I'll start us off on this one, Tony. This could be Lincoln Riley's last game coaching USC. I know people are going to be freaking out, but did you see that game last night, Tony? The Chargers just getting boat raced by the Raiders. Reggie Bush.
I mean, when you're getting boat raced by the Raiders, that's a bad.
Oh, I think
that is not a good scene.
No, Reggie Bush was tweeting that that Staley should be fired at halftime. I watched the halftime show, and Richard Sherman was saying the same thing. And when it was like 49-0 or 49-7, it's like he was not going to survive this. This is the Chargers. This was embarrassing. The only saving grace is Spanos, the Spanos family. They're cheap, but they got embarrassed. So why am I saying this? Because guess what? Spanos pays cheap rent there. There's a lot of things, Tony, that just happened in LA in this last week. And you need market share, you need mind share in the crowded LA sports landscape. A lot of people don't understand that in the rest of the college football world in their little towns. But in LA, just in this last week, the Lakers won the in-season basketball tournament. LeBron James's son, Bronny James, made his debut for the USC basketball team.
In a lost bye game, unfortunately.
Yeah, in a lost bye game, correct. In overtime against the LBC, Long Beach State.
That's right.
Go Beach. And then, by the way, the Angels lost Shohei Ohtani, and the Dodgers just introduced them to more than 300 media members from all across the world yesterday. So that's just 6 days. Okay. And then the Chargers blow out their head coach. So guess what? Maybe Spanos steps up and pays some money. Lincoln Riley lives in LA. Oh, I can bring over maybe D'Anton Lynn, the new defensive coordinator, whose dad used to be the head coach of the Chargers. D'Anton Lynn was an assistant in 2017. Hey, man, crazier things have happened. But getting into this game, it's going to be Miller Moss. It's Miller time. And he's going to get a chance. There's going to be a lot of freshmen who are going to be playing. As we know, there's a number of players that are going to the NFL, have used up their eligibility. I like Louisville's defense. I don't really particularly think much of their quarterback and Jack Plummer. He's a turnover machine. But at the end of the day, I think Louisville wins by 4 points. I'll take USC in the 7.5. Tony?
I'm going with the Trojans on this one. I mean, Jack Plummer was not very strong at Cal. I mean, the real question here, though, is USC's defense going to play remotely like they're capable of?
Yeah.
If they, and I think that they've had a lot of change. I think they've had time to make that change work. I'm hoping that these practices have been good for them. But I'm taking SC. I'm taking SC to win. But I don't know how much of that is hope and how much of that is prediction.
Tony, hope is a 4-letter word. Let me just remind you of that. But hey, you know, I'm looking at it as a business. I'm looking at it as reality. I love my Trojans, but I don't think they're going to be able to turn that defense around. And Louisville's got a great team, and their defense is stout. I hope Miller Moss shows out. We got a question here. We'll get into the next game. 66 Lucky Dude asks, LBC, if Lincoln Riley were to go to the coach of the Chargers, would you be okay if Cliff Kingsbury as our head coach? No, I wouldn't. I'd be good with Matt Entz being our head coach if that was the case, because defense wins championships. And you look at everything that's happened since Pete Carroll left at the end of the 2009 season. We've had offensive-minded coaches, and we've been, okay. We've been better some years than most, but nothing like those days when the defense was stout and it was aggressive, and it sets up the offense. So I would prefer to have a defensive-minded coach if Lincoln Riley were to leave. It's a fluid situation. Crazy things happen. Do I think he would go coach the Chargers? Absolutely not, because the Spanos family, they're ridiculous, and they're cheap. So moving on. Let's get back to the next game up after the Holiday Bowl. Oh, but let's take a break real quick. We're going to get into this Texas Bowl. But, Tony, it's time for a beer.
Go for it.
And, it's 5:30 on the East Coast. It's 2:30 here in SoCal. I am going to be drinking a Cellar Maker Czech GBT, and this is a Czech-style pale ale lager. I actually picked this up at Bradley's today, And this is a good beer at 2:30 on a Friday going into the weekend. You don't want to start with a big IPA, especially if you're doing a little afternoon drinking and you're an older vintage, mature age, such as myself, wise. You want to go with something smooth and easy drinking. And at 4.5% ABV, yeah, this is pretty smooth. So, Tony, cheers to you. Cheers to everybody out there, my college football friends and fans, for supporting this channel. And because of that, I'm going to get into real quickly the college football bowl pick'ems here on the channel. And I just want to let you know, oh, that is a good beer. Don't be drinking Bud Light, okay? This is bad. This is bad beer. This is the holidays. You want to step it up. Don't embarrass yourself like Bud Light has embarrassed itself for a number of years. You are going to be having good holiday food and cheer and friends, watching college football. Your teams have invested in the transfer portal and NIL. It takes more for college football now. You should not deserve less. You know what happened to Bud Light? You know what's happening? It's going into the transfer portal. Bud Light is in the transfer portal. You need to be drinking good beer from our friends at Bradley's or Matter of Craft in Huntington Beach if you live in Southern California. You have choices. Don't choose to drink Bud Light. Tony.
Yeah.
I'm going to share. We'll go in the Texas Bowl, and then I'll talk about the pick'em. So the Texas Bowl, we got Texas A&M favored by 2.5 points against Oklahoma State. Wednesday, also December 27th at 6 p.m. This is the late game that night. What are your thoughts on the Texas Bowl, Tony?
So Texas A&M has more talent than Oklahoma State, but Texas A&M is sort of coachless. They've had a lot of transfers. I don't know what we get from them. And Gundy's a good coach, and he's pulled it out on the team this year. So I should take A&M, but I think I got to go with OK State on this one.
Yeah, this is one of those games. Okay, this is something that you take a look at it. You pointed out, Tony, you got no Jimbo Fisher. You have their offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino, went back up to Arkansas. Don't know if they got him a Harley Davidson or not. Good old Bobby Petrino. So what's going on at Texas A&M? Like you'd mentioned, there's a bunch of players in the transfer portal, including defensive lineman stud Walter Nolan. So how much is Texas A&M really going to be up for this game? You have to take a look at the motivation. What's in it for them? And they're favored by 2.5. You know, in Oklahoma State, they've got a solid team. Again, they're playing in the Big 12, but I believe their running back is going to be playing, and that guy's a stud. And you got Mike Gundy, who's been a coach there for a long time. Their stability, and yeah, they lost some games that they shouldn't have lost in horrible fashion. But Texas A&M 2.5, favored by 2.5. I'm going to take Oklahoma State to win this game straight up and to beat the Aggies. So
this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it definitely is, for those reasons that we were talking about. So let me talk to you about. Let's go real quick. We'll take some comments as well, but we've got I want to put this on the ticker. LBC's College Football Bowl Pick'em Pool, no entry fee. Deadline is when the first game kicks off this Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific. The prizes are first place. There's a $100 gift card to Matter of Craft in Huntington Beach. You can have dinner there. They've got a full bar. They also have craft beer that you can pick up and take home. So perfect for your holiday parties or bowl games. Second place is a mixed 12-pack of craft beer from our friends over at Bradley's Fine Wine and Spirits. And let me show you that again. You see me drinking and giving you some information on a bunch of beer that I'm giving you suggestions to upgrade your tailgate beer, now your holiday beer throughout the year. This is a mixed 12-pack. It will be shipped to you. So if you're a winner in a different state, no worries. Again, we got 12 beers, including Pliny the Elder. That is the key to this package because Pliny the Elder has limited distribution in 4 states. You've heard about it. Maybe you haven't had one. Now is the time. I mean, come on. It's free. Enter the contest. Let's see how good you are. And third place will be a $75 gift card to your choice. We could probably do an Amazon card. And then fourth and fifth place, what we got going on is an LBC trucker hat. So here it is.
Ooh, that is classic.
The fourth and fifth place. Hey, man, we're giving out prizes here on the channel. These are real prizes. So thanks to you guys for supporting the channel. We're going to have a little fun, but make sure you check out the link in the description of the video. You can click on that link. It's a Google form. Fill out all the games, and we'll be updating that on the channel. Make sure you tune in. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Share the video. If you've got friends that want to join the LBC Pick'em Pool, challenge them. This is a great time. And make sure that you consider, if you live in SoCal, visit one of our sponsors to buy your holiday gifts for your friends and family. All right. Coolio, man. Any questions? Leave them in the chat. We're going to appreciate everybody for joining and checking out the channel. Tony, we're going to go to one more question before we move on to the next one, the next game that we're going to pick. Let's check out some of these questions here. Oh, by the way, if you are not following Tony Altimore, foolish. Make sure you follow Tony Altimore on Twitter. He's going to give you the latest information like he did at the beginning of this episode on what's happening with Washington State and Oregon State, trying to keep control of the Pac-12. There's nobody around on Twitter that has as much information. Every morning I have my cup of coffee and Tony's got his charts. He's letting us know what's going on in terms of conference realignment. I mean, God, you even had a tweet on NASA and who's the king of space, right?
Exactly. It is, believe it or not, the Space Bowl is not Central Florida and Houston. It is basketball, Caltech and Johns Hopkins.
So give Tony a follow. Always fun to follow Tony and all the information that he's got going on. So let's move on. Quick question. Thanks everybody for joining. Who we got here? We got Kurt. Thanks for joining, Kurt. I think I don't recognize that name. Bud Light went woke. Yes, they did. You know, hey, too big to fail. Hey, companies like the king of beers, like the SEC. You know, without ESPN, the SEC is bound to fail too. So they think they're the best conference every year, but they weren't this year because if you go on wins and losses and out of conference record, it was the Pac-12, baby. So, hey, if Bud Light can blow up, so can the SEC. And oh, look who's here, Blackie Chan. Fight on, USC fan. Love you, Blackie Chan. Hope you're training. Those that you don't know, Blackie Chan, I challenged him. I guess he's training for a marathon. I told him I could beat him in a 40-yard dash. So we're going to throw it down at Allegiant Stadium when SC plays LSU on September 1st. That's going to be the pregame show. Blackie Chan and I are going to go on it, 40-yard dash. I think Blackie Chan is about 20 years younger than me, but Blackie, you better be training. I'm training too right now. And I'll beat you with a beer in my hand going 40 yards. How about that, Blackie? Love you, man. Let's see. And we'll take this question before we go to the next game. 66 Lucky Dude asking, did Corey Foreman enter the portal? As of 1 p.m. Pacific time, the last time I checked, I did not see. But if he has, and that's not the current information, please, somebody drop it in the chat. But I don't believe he has entered the portal. All right, Tony. Let's move on. The next game we have on tap is the Alamo Bowl. This is going to be a great game. Oh, and I'll let you know right now, Tony, you're going to pick
Yeah.
this one first, but I am going to be making a special appearance that night of the Alamo Bowl at Matter of Craft in Huntington Beach. And I have a Trojan that the name is going to be announced next week, but there's a couple of guys that I'm working with, but I'm going to get a confirmation, and you'll have to come out and check us out. We're going to do a show. The game starts at 6:15. We're going to do a show from 4 to 5 o'clock. And I'm sorry, from 5 to 6 o'clock. And then the USC, former USC player and I are going to hang out. We're going to have a little dinner there. We're going to watch the game. We'll take questions from those patrons in the audience there, and we'll chat it up at halftime.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, so it'll be a good time. But mark the calendar, Alamo Bowl, Matter of Craft. We're going to be coming out to Huntington Beach. So look forward to seeing you there. We got Arizona, the Wildcats out of the Pac-12, favored by 3 points over our friends in Norman, Oklahoma, the Sooners, without their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, who's now a Duck. Quack, quack. Thursday night, the 28th, 6:15 p.m. Tony, what are your thoughts on this game?
My thought. So I am all about the Arizona story this year. I'm excited for Jedd Fisch. I think he's doing amazing stuff. I mean, Noah Fafita's had a dream season. This has really been a year that Arizona needs. But at the same time, Oklahoma is a really good team that's just had some really inconsistent games this year. So, I look at this and I don't think Arizona has the horses to pull it off. I'll cheer for Arizona, but I think this is a Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, Blackie Chance is calling it. Fafita is going to go off on those Sooners. Fafita's been amazing this whole year. And what happened to Jaden DeLora? And why isn't he in the transfer portal? Because that guy, it's a mystery what's going on there. But Oklahoma without Dylan Gabriel, what is the motivation for them in this game? Who knows? But they're going to have, I would presume, their backup quarterback, Jackson Arnold. Now, there'll be some Sooners that'll tell you, you know what? We weren't really pleased with Dylan Gabriel. We're glad that he jumped in the portal because we got Jackson Arnold and we're ready for the Jackson Arnold era. Well, that may be 100% correct. But now he's going to have the opportunity to go against a very motivated Arizona team. Nobody thought that they were going to make a bowl this year. I mean, you probably had win totals in the 4 to 5 game range. And some of us knew about Fafita, who played at Servite with T-Mac, Territorial McMillan, their standout wide receiver. But nobody would have expected Fafita to do what he did. And Jedd Fisch has got that program on the rise. I see Arizona putting it on the Sooners. I see them winning this by 10 points. They're going to be jacked up, and they're going to keep on scoring. And, that Boomer Sooner is going to break an axle and going to have to get towed back to Norman, Oklahoma from San Antonio. So Wildcats, as they say, bear down.
Nice.
Moving on to the next game. What do we got on tap here? Let's move on to the Gator Bowl. The Gator Bowl, Clemson, favored by 4 over Kentucky. It's Friday night, 12/29, December 29th it's at 9 a.m. Pacific. This is the first game. I'm going to start this one off, Tony. You got Clemson with Dabo Swinney and Kentucky. This is one of those ACC-SEC matchups. This is Kentucky. This is one of those teams where the fan bases chant SEC, SEC, because they're not a football school. They're a basketball school.
They are.
They are. But they're one of the also-rans. They're in the Eastern Division. They've been living off the profits of the SEC, just like a gravy train. And but Clemson has some motivation because they've been disrespected. Yes, they're 8-4 this year. They haven't had a good year up to Clemson standards. But I see Clemson taking it to Kentucky. I see them winning this by 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. Kentucky, I mean, Kentucky's good, but they're not. I don't think they're Clemson good. And Will Shipley, he's really good. So I got to take Clemson on this to win and to cover.
Yeah, Okay. Let's go.
I don't think it'll be even that close.
Yeah. Let's move on. Sun Bowl. We've got Oregon State, the Beavs, representing the Pac-2 against those Fighting Irish from Notre Dame. Also on Friday the 29th. This is 11 o'clock kickoff on CBS, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Notre Dame favored by 6.5. Tony, what are your thoughts on this game?
This is one. I mean, I think Notre Dame should just run them off the field. Notre Dame is a much better team. Oregon State is decimated with coaching transitions. They've lost most of their coaches. They've lost a ton of their players. They've got their former walk-on back at quarterback who probably will someday be like the best pediatrician in all of the Portland area, but is not a quarterback who is going to beat Notre Dame. That said, the Beavs have done stranger things, but I got the Irish in this one. I got the Irish to win. I got the Irish to cover big.
Yeah, this is the Beavs have lost their two quarterbacks. They lost obviously DJ and then Childs. Childs just committed to Michigan State and followed Jonathan Smith to East Lansing. So you've got a good defensive team, and you have their defensive coordinator stepping up, and who's now the head coach of the Beavers. But how much are the Beavers really going to have? They've lost a couple defensive players to the transfer portal. I don't think they're going to have enough. You got Notre Dame. I think they're a talented team, and it's just a matter of they've got too much. Notre Dame against Oregon State in this game. I feel bad for Oregon State. They're a solid team, but it's one of those things where they just don't have enough personnel to compete with Notre Dame for 4 quarters. I see Notre Dame winning by at least a touchdown in this game. Before we move to the next one, thanks a lot, Samoan Strong LBC, for tuning in and your question. LBC, what's our chance of getting Malik Murphy to come back home and play for Coach Riley and us? Fight on, Trojans fam. I know nothing, but I'll tell you this, Samoan Strong. I'm not big on Malik Murphy. He hasn't played. Yes, he did play at Gardena Serra, but he's got freakish athletic ability, but I just think it's not the right move to have that guy come in who hasn't played any football, considerable football. Yeah, he played a couple games, but technique-wise, he's got a lot to develop. And yeah, Lincoln Riley could develop him, but when you have a Miller Moss and you have the guy from Los Al, and I'm spacing on his name right now. Tony, help me out. Who's our guy? God? I can't believe I'm spacing on his name right now. Malachi Nelson. You have those guys. You're going to, one or both will jump in the portal. So I just think, Malik Murphy, he's great, but not for USC. And that's just my impression, because you have somebody that's solid like Miller Moss that can take you into the Big Ten. You're going to have an upgraded defensive team, and you've got some always solid skill players. I think it's too much to bring in somebody like Malik Murphy, especially when you've got Juju Lewis, who's waiting in the wings and might be coming in 2025. But let's move on. Thanks for the question. And let's move on to the Cotton Bowl. And we've got Missouri -2.5 versus Ohio State on Friday. That's the 5 p.m. game Pacific. Tony, your thoughts on Missouri and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl?
Ohio State's going to roll them off the field, I think. Ohio State's a really good team. They have talent up the wazoo, and I think this is where Missouri's big, wonderful run of excitement comes to a crashing halt. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Missouri is a paper SEC Tiger. They've had a good run, but you've got Ohio State. They got a bad taste in their mouth. They lost Kyle McCord. Some will say he got influenced to move on and continue your career somewhere else. But they have Devin Brown, and Trojans, you may remember Devin Brown. At one time, he was a USC commit who decided to commit to Ohio State. And so he's the quarterback, at least today. I'm sure they'll be picking up somebody in the transfer portal. Maybe it's going to be Malik Murphy. Maybe it's going to be Cam Ward. Who knows who it's going to be? But Ohio State's a solid team, and they've got something to prove, and so does Missouri. So this is going to be a classic SEC versus Big Ten matchup. But I'm going to take Ohio State to win by 2 touchdowns. They're going to put it on Mizzou. Paper Tigers out of the SEC. Okay, Peach Bowl. Ole Miss, our friend old Lane Kiffin, coaching the Rebels against our old friend, our favorite friend, James Franklin. How do you do with the Penn State Nittany Lions losing to Clay Helton? You're still around, James Franklin. God bless you. Can't wait to see you in the Big Ten next year, and you'll be coming out to the Coliseum. Penn State favored by 3.5 on Saturday, December 30th at 9:00 Pacific. I'm gonna say in this one, we hear about how great Penn State is, the defense. They're, Lane Kiffin's got it on offense. You got Jackson Dart. Kind of reminds me of Sam Darnold. Trojans, what do you think? Is Jackson Dart kind of one of those renegade, running rebel type of quarterbacks that is improvises kind of like Sam Darnold? I like Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin in this game, and they're going to beat Penn State by, I'd say about 7 or 8 points. Tony?
Oh, see, I disagree with you on this one. Penn State's a good team.
Okay.
I mean, I love Lane Kiffin, but Penn State is a much better team. I think Penn State rolls them.
You think Penn State rolls them? Okay. For all those people out there in the chat or watch this video and we'll put in the comments, wow, LBC, you're an SEC hater. No, I'm not. I'm not an SEC hater. I like Ole Miss in this game. So come at me. Go ahead and throw me your comments. I just think the SEC is overrated this year. And I probably have about 100,000 friends that think the same. Moving on. Orange Bowl, Tony. Speaking of, a little disrespect here. Florida State versus Georgia. Georgia favored by 2 touchdowns. This game is on Saturday at 1:00 Pacific. Tony, your thoughts?
For the Orange Bowl?
Yeah.
This is an interesting one because I disagree with Florida State fans who are saying that this game doesn't matter because I think it does. This is Florida State's chance to show whether the committee was right or wrong. If they beat Georgia, then they absolutely deserved a shot in the playoffs. If they don't beat Georgia, then Alabama was better. And I think Georgia's a really good team. So I don't know if they'll cover, but I got the Dogs to win this one.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Look who's here on cue. I just said, there's going to be people that are going to be calling me an SEC hater. Did you hear me say that, Tony? Oh, we got our buddy here. We got our buddy here. Here he is.
LW.
LW, your ears were burning.
Roll Tide, LW.
Oh, roll Tide, LW. You're an SEC hater, but I still like you. I love you, LW.
Hey, and I don't necessarily, by the way, just to be clear, I don't necessarily disagree that Alabama's the better team because they probably are. I mean, Alabama's really scary good. But what I think is really interesting, and LW appreciate this is a chance. I mean, if Florida State doesn't win this game, I don't see an argument. No, we're not disagreeing that they earned it. Lots of teams earned it. Heck, Liberty's undefeated. Maybe they earned it. The question is, are they the better team? And what's interesting is they're going to have to show in this game whether they are a better team than Georgia. And if they're not a better team than Georgia, then the committee picked the better teams. And again, earned it is not a metric that they have in their selection process. It's never been a metric. I mean, you could say USC definitely earned it in a bunch of times that we didn't get picked under Pete Carroll. So again, earned it is not a thing. Even though I agree with you, I would have taken Florida State, but I'm not on the committee.
Well, I like the way that the committee, or actually the bowl people, the Orange Bowl, picked this game because, as you kind of alluded to, it's like, okay, hey, well, here you go, Florida State. We're going to set you up against Georgia. See, you weren't that good, and we justified that they wouldn't be good for the college football playoff. But we'll have to see, and we'll have to see who's going to quarterback. Is it going to be Brock Glenn? Is it going to be Tate, their backup quarterback who was out with a concussion? And Georgia's a very solid team, and I'm not really a big fan of their quarterback. Can he really lead that team? But their defense is just unbelievable. Great defense. And, I want to see their quarterback kind of show out. And he really hasn't shown me this year, but Georgia's going to win this game against Florida State. Florida State's not going to have enough. Florida State's got a great defense, but I just don't think they have enough against Georgia. I see Georgia winning, but not by 14. I would take Florida State and the points in this one, but that's just me. And let's move on. Got a couple games here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And next, we've got the Fiesta Bowl. Oregon, favored by 17.5 by some team named Liberty. This is a New Year's morning, and I'll probably hopefully I'll still be sleeping, but I don't think I will at 10 o'clock Pacific. I think I'll wake up, and I might catch a little bit of this game. But, Tony, your thoughts? Fiesta Bowl?
Fiesta Bowl is all Oregon. Absolutely. I think Oregon is going to absolutely bulldoze that team and make them look like an also-ran that absolutely does not belong there.
Yeah.
And you know how much it pains me to say that about Oregon? That Oregon's going to roll.
I think Bo Nix is playing in this game, isn't he? From what I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, he's playing in this game. And, hey, Bo Nix, kudos to you, man. I credit you. If you're going to play in this game against Liberty, there's no upside, and you're going to the NFL, and there's probably agents telling you not to play in this game. But, hey, congratulations to you. This is the example of the bowl system, in my opinion, given Oregon the Pac-12 treatment, much like the College Football Playoff Committee gave Florida State the Pac-12 treatment. No respect. I mean, come on, Liberty. Oh, God. I mean, the Ducks are a great team. And I mean, look at this. Vegas is laughing at you, Fiesta Bowl Committee and the bowl system. 17.5 points. That is just ridiculous. Yeah, they're going to roll. They're going to roll Liberty, and probably by 4 touchdowns. Enough of that shenanigans. Let's get into it. This is the college football playoff. We've got 3 games left, Tony, and I appreciate you joining us today, Tony. And whenever we have you on, a lot of fun. Thank you again. Check out Tony Altimore on TJ Altimore on Twitter. Tony, we got the first college football semifinal at the Rose Bowl. Number 1 Michigan favored by 1 point against the number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide, LW and Tide Guys. Bama team. Monday, New Year's Day at 2 p.m. Pacific. What are your thoughts, Tony?
So this one, I mean, Alabama's good, but I think Michigan's really good. I think, there's a lot of people who want Alabama to win, and I have lots of Alabama friends, but I think Michigan wins this one big. Hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. I will see, though. But remember, Michigan always finds a way to blow bowl games, no matter how good they are. So no surprise to me if Alabama wins, but Michigan's a better team.
Oh, man, there's so many places to go here, and I'm glad LW, hopefully you're still here. But, boy, you give Nick Saban 1 year to prepare. 1 month to prepare for a game. And, I love their chances. And then you got Jim Harbaugh. Who knows what's going on in Jim Harbaugh's mind right now? Hey, there's a lot of teams in the NFL who love Jim Harbaugh, one of them being by way of San Diego, up in LA. The Chargers blew out their coach. So Jim Harbaugh is going to have distractions. This happens all the time. J.J. McCarthy, he's a good quarterback. Not great. They got a good running game, solid defensively, but there's a lot of question about Michigan and the type of teams that they play in the Big Ten. Like they have 2 games a year. For some reason, and you'll get 100 of them, why they backed out against UCLA. They really didn't play anybody all year. They played 2 games. And they didn't play a game against Iowa in that Big Ten championship game. What a disgrace. And Alabama's been getting a lot better. And Alabama comes in with a chip on their shoulder, kind of disrespected. The Tide is going to roll into Pasadena. They're going to collect their roses. And they're going to collect their roses, and they are going to the national championship game in Houston, in LW's hometown of Houston. Sorry, LW, maybe that's too much information, but Bama's going to roll by 10 points. Actually, make it an even dozen. They beat Schembechler. He looks like Schembechler. They beat Harbaugh and Michigan in the Rose Bowl by 12 points.
I mean, that would be a very Michigan way to end the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. How many times did they choked in the Rose Bowl?
So many.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on. We got a couple minutes here, Tony. Thank you so much.
No problem. I got to run in just a minute, but we'll crank through them.
We're going to crank through it real quick. We got the other semifinal. We got the Sugar Bowl. Number 2, Washington against Texas. Texas is -4. Monday, it's the night game, 5:45 Pacific. I'll start us off, Tony. This is a rematch of the Alamo Bowl from last year. Remember the Alamo. And this is really interesting. You got Steve Sarkisian, who used to be the coach at Washington, and you got Washington, who was hired, who has Coach DeBoer, who was hired by Jen Cohen, who's now the AD of USC, and he was hired from Fresno State. And a lot of people were saying, who the heck is this guy? And look, they're on, I think, a 20-game winning streak right now. They're a phenomenal team.
Yeah, they are.
Michael Penix Jr., and he was a Heisman finalist along with Bo Nix and another Pac-12 guy who went to the SEC, who was the eventual winner, Jaden Daniels from ASU to LSU. Congratulations to him, that young man. So this is going to be a great game. You got 7-win Sark, who's won more than 7 wins. He went down to Alabama, beat Alabama. So everybody saw that. And but this is match. I think Washington is coming with a chip on their shoulder. Michael Penix is going to show out. He's going to go against Quinn Ewers, both great quarterbacks. But I see Washington winning this by a field goal. Tony?
This is a tough one because Washington is like one of those teams that just finds a way to win. I mean, Washington should have lost to Arizona State. Washington should have lost a bunch of these games. They keep finding a way to win. That said, Texas is really good. I love all my UW friends, but if I have to bet on this one, I'm taking the Horns.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And so now what we're going to do, Tony, is, we're going to jump down and national championship game. Okay. So national championship game, I've got Bama going against Washington. You have Michigan going against Texas. Is that correct?
Yes.
So why don't you start us off first with your matchup, Michigan and Texas. Who's going to win that game?
Hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. I'm taking, again, if Michigan can win the Rose Bowl, I think they win the whole thing.
Okay. All right.
If they can win the Rose Bowl.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking football with Tony and people in the chat, LW, Blackie Chan, Samoan LBC, everybody, Touchdown USC. Thank you for joining us today. 66 Lucky Dude. Again, hey, check out the link down in the description. Join the LBC College Football Pick'ems. Also put down, who do you think is going to win the national championship? Tony has hail to Michigan. And I've got Washington going against Alabama. And what a matchup that's going to be. From Tuscaloosa to Seattle, you got Jaden Milroe versus Michael Penix Jr. And the last time that Washington won a national championship, they had to split it back in 91 with Colorado. I believe it was Colorado, wasn't it? Or was that Georgia? No, it was Georgia Tech. Correct me in the chat. I think it was Georgia Tech in 91. So anyhow, it was a split national championship. This year, I see Washington beating Alabama. And the reason being is they have the better quarterback that's got a few more throws in his bag. Jaden Milroe is primarily a runner. He can give you the check down. And Alabama's secondary, I don't know if they can hold up against Washington and Michael Penix and their wide receivers for 4 quarters. They can be exposed. Do I think that Alabama's a better defensive team? Yes. But I like Washington in a short period of time, not a month for Nick Saban to prepare, but I like Washington to go do some damage in Houston. Can you believe that? The Huskies and the Pac-12 win the last college football playoff that has 4 teams and prove that the Pac-12
I like it.
and its swan song is the best team, and they beat Alabama, and they can tell the college football playoff committee, F you, and they give them the Pac-12 treatment. There you go. So
I like it.
So Tony, any parting words before we end?
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun bowl season.
It is. Thanks a lot to everybody tuning in
Thank
today.
you.
Share with your friends. Join the college football pick'ems. There's some great prizes. We appreciate you joining us today, and always fight on.